Yeah, trendsetter, whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center, hit it dead center. Bullseye, hit it the most, there's no misses. Something like fish in a barrel, it's no different. Blindfold on me, I still got the most vision.
I think I've added you there now, Selena. There you go. Perfect. That was
Hi,
quick.
good morning.
How are you? Good afternoon.
I'm good. Yeah. Well, good morning.
So is it just going to be us two?
I guess I've heard non info from everybody else, but I am gonna send it to them.
Well,
If you'd
what
like,
better person to talk about it? You're well up to date on this kind of stuff.
well, yeah, so, something about that. Yeah. Um, Guess yeah. I've been through the gambit when it comes to relationships and lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
It is it is
It's a, it's
quite
a, it's a touchy subject, isn't it?
it is, and
Mm.
it's a hard one because it's not like you want to throw people under the bus
Yeah.
or blame them for anything in particular, and it's a hard balance line to walk when you take acceptance and ownership for yourself without necessarily throwing daggers at another person for their choices or
Mm.
the way that they are choosing to participate in their life. Um, it's a tough balance, and
Like let me ask you a question because you're a female.
yeah,
Where do you draw the line if your partner, like they say, there should be honesty in a relationship. So if you are, let's say, you're eating unhealthy, you put on a bit of weight, how do you actually say that to your other half? Should you say that to your other half?
yes, I do believe you should.
Mm.
Now, the manner in which you go about doing so is the vital key of are you requiring this for themselves because you are wanting the overall best interest of them and your relationship, or are you bringing this up in a manner that is purely out of self-motivation
Mm.
of what you want alone?
Mm.
Because I do see situations where it happens both ways. Sometimes, sometimes you see partners who are extremely high driven, very motivated, just like super athlete type consciousness, right?
Mm.
They just dig in, all in, no matter what. And sometimes they find partners who are not that same personality type. They're not that same type of, drive within their own natural state of being. Like that's just not
Mm.
their persona.
Mm.
And often, it's that whole concept of opposites attract, I think.
Mm.
And then there's that battle where sometimes the hyper-driven personality might almost bully the non-hyper-driven personality.
Yes.
And I think the misconception is that they think that the non-driven person is not doing enough or not wanting to perform for them
Mm.
or gosh, what is the wording for that? But I honestly believe that the hyper-driven personality, it's more, whether it's conscious or unconscious, the the desire and want for their partner to be able to rise up to the level with them is
Yes.
more the desire than it
Yeah.
actually is trying to shame the other partner.
Yeah, I get it. I get it because the way I see it is that you should be looking at your partner as a long thing and not as like a prize asset. Does that make sense?
Exactly,
So if
100%.
you want your partner just to change, just to look good, So it, like, you know what I mean? So
So
I
you
can
got your
walk, I
arm
can,
candy.
yeah, I can walk down the road and everybody's looking at her. I think that's completely different to what we're trying to focus on, which is going to be your
Exactly.
longevity, having kids, having family, growing old together, loving this person for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Whereas
Exactly.
whereas if you have this person in your arm, this person could be on in your arm for about 6 months, and then you'll probably move on to the next one. That sounds to me like someone that's never going to be able to settle down.
Exactly. Exactly. I sort of have had both scenarios in my life. I tend to be one of those people that's like a long-term lifer. Like if I've dated you, I don't just like date, right? I'm
Mm,
married now, so obviously
mm,
that's not in the picture anymore. But in my history, it was like if I went on a date with you, most likely I ended up in like a 5 to 10 year relationship with
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I didn't do the whole
yeah,
like let's bounce around and visit other
yeah,
people and figure this
yeah,
out. That wasn't my the way I did it. So I had both. My first marriage, I had somebody who really just wanted arm candy, and at the time I was arm
mm,
candy at the time,
mm,
and I didn't understand that,
mm,
but I started to make a lot of unhealthy choices at that point in time. I was still vegetarian, and I unhealthy in the sense of what I understand now, not what was considered unhealthy society wise.
mm,
I was still vegetarian. I was starting to get really sick all the time. And at that point, I think honestly is when my health decline that led me down into my cancer situation. I think it really started back then
mm,
because I started to develop hypoglycemia
mm,
and those kind of issues, which are all like, if you look at it, sort of precursor, right? And I would gain like 5 or 6 pounds and then I would drop it really quick and then I would
mm,
gain it back. And every time I gained it, the shame I would receive was almost unbearable to
mm.
the point that it sort of made me worse off because that really started the whole cycle of like not eating enough, trying to work out way too much, and the understanding of the whole calories in, calories out. But on the opposite side of that spectrum, I started to fall out of love with this person the
Mm,
more I felt shamed
mm,
over something I didn't know how to control
mm.
because it wasn't that I wasn't trying.
Yeah,
And I think that's a hard aspect to experience because I think some people they just don't know how because they're not on a food path that actually supports the desired
exactly,
outcome that they're
exactly.
looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, because that's something that I see as well. It's all down to diet. It's like you look at the diet and it's like, okay, they're focusing. Most people they're undernourished. They're underfeeding themselves. They're not eating enough. They're not eating enough nutrients in their diet. And this is what usually causes problems. You
Yeah.
see it in that you see, especially with women's hormones, they turn to shit. They don't love themselves anymore. They look at themselves in the mirror in disgust. And it's usually the women that
Yeah.
usually end up breaking up the relationship because they're like they're trying to be active victim. I see it all the time. Like they're causing arguments with their other partner, but they don't want to be like that. But it's coming from a point where they just can't understand it's down to the food.
Right. Right. I yeah. I would have to agree with that. Where I ended up with a lot of like I would say, like mental imbalances due to like the crazy hormone roller coasters that I was in, especially in that relationship where I was so moody and I was edgy. And there
Mm,
were times where it's like when he was trying to be overbearing about,
mm,
I'd sit down and I would have a big salad, but, at the time when I would like use ranch dressing or whatever, if I use too much ranch dressing, do you really need that?
mm,
And it's like one of two experiences would come out of me
mm.
because of my own imbalances. I
Yeah.
either was going to cower in shame or I was going to become enraged and angry.
Yes. Exactly.
It's like and there was no you didn't know what you were going to receive
Hmm.
because my own regulation wasn't able to process properly to be able to
Exactly.
handle the situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's I think that's something people don't always want to take accountability for, is
Mm,
that our outbursts or our lack of outbursts is also usually a chemical reaction based off of what we're ingesting, based off of
mm,
how the brain is functioning with what we're providing it.
mm,
Do you have enough cholesterol and fats to give your brain the ability to fire neurons properly so that you're not
mm,
just attacking somebody or,
mm,
cowering down in a victimized
mm,
state of mind?
mm,
Um, I ended up leaving that relationship.
mm,
Very much
mm,
so. And it was needed more so than just all of that stuff. But the flip flop story, in the other sense, is the next relationship that I was in for 10 years. And it was the opposite. I was trying so hard and I was working so hard and I was doing everything that I could. And he would come home after, like, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I just lost like 15 pounds this month. And can you believe this? This is amazing. And he'd come home with a box of donuts and be like, congratulations.
mm,
And
mm.
so he didn't have or any desire to raise himself
Yes.
to any kind of
Mm,
standard of health. And um, what I came to learn years later is, there's a weird psychology with people where they either want everybody to look at their partner because they are so proud of them and,
mm,
that sense, or they don't want anybody to look at them because they're too
mm,
jealous
mm,
of their own stuff. And I know for sure that also is health driven. That's nutrition driven,
mm,
because you don't, from my personal experience, I don't go through the jealousy bouts since I have been nutritionally fed.
mm,
Since my brain is able to actually process things, I don't experience that same emotion towards my partner
mm,
like I did in the past. And I notice the same with him, vice versa, my
mm,
husband now.
mm.
Um, it's, and we did have some of that in the beginning of our relationship. So it's not like to go, oh, it's always just been perfect. It hasn't. There's been those bumps in the road, but I do notice that the ability to understand and process and step back and realize where the situation is when you are both nutritionally balancing yourself.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to external stress, if it's out of your
Hmm.
control, there's nothing you can do about it. But when it
Right.
comes to your own emotions, you need to look at, okay, well, hang on a second. Why are we having this argument? Why are we constantly arguing? Like,
Exactly.
is it down to like our diet? Do we need to look at our diet? Do we need, instead of just talking all the time, what about if we just look at what we're eating on a regular basis? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And
Exactly.
that's where I see it regularly as well. And I used to have that with partners in the past as well. It felt like that for me, because I was always into fitness. I was always into the fitness side of it. I just want to look. I want to see it doing well for yourself, not just like on the outside. I want to see it doing. You're healthy and we're gonna
Yeah.
grow old together. I was always like that. So that never changed. Whether I was carnivore or 20 years ago, I was always like
Right.
that. I never looked at a woman and said, right, okay, you're amazing looking. That's it. No, I wanted the whole package.
Same.
I
Same.
wanted you to be healthy. I want to have a family, and I just want to live a long, healthy, enjoyable life. That's always been my life. And I think we're moving away from that because you look at what's going on at the moment. Like you said, if you meet someone on a date, like say 20 years ago, automatically you're going to be in that relationship. Whereas
Right.
now, like you have young girls, you have young men, like they're going out with each other for like 3 months, and it's not even a relationship.
Right. There, it's like
So
a It's like a speed dating session,
Yeah,
but
it's like they're
long term
sleeping.
speed dating.
Yeah, they're sleeping together, doing everything together, but it's not a relationship. And then what they
Wow.
have to do, I've seen young couples.
Same.
They'll actually ask the boyfriend out, or they'll ask the girlfriend, "Will you be my partner?" I'm like, what is going on? Like
Yeah,
seriously,
same.
it's crazy. I don't get it.
Like, but it's been how many months now? Like, and you guys already know every aspect of what every angle of you looks like, and you're just now confirming whether or
Yeah,
not you guys are exclusively together. It is,
exclusive. That's the word, exclusive.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I so I'm sort of dealing with this scenario with my oldest son. He turns 18 in a couple months, in about 3 months. And but he's already, he's graduated from high school. He already has like a full-time career, and he's doing great. But his personality type is long-term love, right?
Mm,
He I think he kind of got that, honestly. And
mm.
but the society that he's in, where he's like with these girls, he's like, Mom, I don't understand it. Like, are they in or are they out? What are they doing? And I'm
Yeah.
like, Babe, you understand it better than I do with
Mm,
your generation, because that's not how that worked even when I was younger. Like,
mm.
it wasn't that concept. Even in, like, elementary school, it was like, oh, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. You don't talk to anybody else.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, what do you mean you're in your 40s and you don't even know that you're exclusive because you're both dating 5 other people on the
Mm,
side,
mm,
and
mm,
trying to figure out everything else. So yeah, I think that kind of comes down to a sense of consciousness as well that we've lost. It's a microwave society,
mm,
and it's kind of like, we don't have time to figure this out, so we're just going to keep trying everything out.
mm, mm,
And that also comes down to nutrition, in my opinion. It's like there's not much that if you're lacking nutrition, there's not much in your life that you're not also going to be lacking everywhere else in some way or form. It's just, you can't you can't process emotions properly. You can't process, decision making. That's something I see so clearly. The ability to just make decisions
mm,
when you are deficient. I watch it with some of my siblings now, who are very much, standard American diet, and the anxiety that they go through just trying to make simple decisions. Simple.
mm, mm,
Where do you want to have lunch today?
mm,
And that turns into a relationship concept as well. I mean,
mm,
I know couples that have actually divorced over the fact that it's an argument every day of what to have for dinner.
mm, mm,
Like, because the decision process, they can't like finalize on the thought
mm.
and make that decision. That part is wild to me. Absolutely wild to me, because to me it's so like, okay, do you want this or this? And if you don't know what you want, you definitely know what you don't want. So let's go
Mm,
off that.
mm,
But the ability to process that concept is not readily available at hand for them.
mm, mm.
Have you experienced any of that kind of
The one thing I get from women is the abusive relationship kind of thing. That's the one I get a lot. So these women are not strong enough to say, listen, the relationship is over. 9 times out of 10, they always go back. But
that
then
is
but then
yeah.
once you change the diet, like this is one thing I've seen over the years, that the minute you change the diet, they have that strength to say, you know what, I'm done. It's over. And that's
Yeah,
what you want. You want to see
100%.
these people take their own path. But you can see that
Absolutely.
it's never going to happen if you're feeding the body crap. So
Right.
it's all down to mindset as well. Like I speak to these on a regular basis, and I'll say, listen, like you can do better. Like I have to feed this into them, say, listen, you can do better. You have to believe in yourself, all this kind of stuff. But in order for me to achieve that, I need to make sure they're feeding their body right first of all.
Oh, absolutely. I was one of those
Because
women,
it works both hand in hand.
sadly.
And this is what people need to understand, that if you want to, in order you can't just change your life just by eating food. You have to look at everything, like your lifestyle, your kids, your work schedule. It's so
Yeah.
much more. I find on my check-ins, I feel like I'm a therapist on my check-ins because I'm speaking more about this than the actual food. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Jenny, we'd love to have you hop in on this one too. If you've got a moment, babe, just come on in.
Come on in, yeah, absolutely. The more
Just
the
come
better.
on in. Um,
The more women, the better, as they say.
General perspective, yes. Uh, so I was definitely one of those women in my
Here
first
she,
two
here she is now.
relationships. Oh, lovely, good.
Here she is now.
Um, because with my first husband, I did have this mentality. Good morning.
How
This
are
is
you?
me post workout, so let's not be. This is my post Selena inspired workout face right here, darlings. But hello, friends. How are we?
I'm good. I'm good.
We are good. We are good.
Wow,
Um,
here I am, 8 a.m. with Mark and Selena. Hi, friends.
yeah, see, I knew you don't, I don't know you realized that I missed you yesterday.
Yes, I got home and I said to my boyfriend, I was like, "Oh my God, Selena's gonna divorce me," and he's like, "I'm glad that you're worried about her well-being."
It's funny. I don't know if you've read back in the chat, but I did make a comment. I was like, did she say that she's not going to be here today?
I know. And then I think Terry or Nora was like, I recall something like that. No, yeah, I just went walking for way longer than I expected to. The F1 is in my city next weekend.
Oh,
So
nice.
the city's like alive. And
Yes.
I got entertained by people and things. But
Lovely.
anyway, yeah, to weigh in on where we were at with
Yes.
past relationships. I mean, yeah, I don't need to be here for long, but I can mirror everything you said. I think Mark and I
Yeah.
talked about this when we spoke last time, but um, yeah, I'm a historical long-term dater too, just like you. And in my past relationships, same things. Like when you all know, I worked in the restaurant industry, and so like the drinking and the bad food life combined with a partner who is also living that life was really bad. And obviously, the restaurant industry is like very beauty driven. And so
Yes.
at 5'7", I weighed 92 pounds, and my partner thought I was too heavy. And would show me pictures
Wow.
of like 17 and 18-year-old models and say, look, this would look great on you if you lost a little bit of weight, or, like, so I would change my hair. I became a hair model for a period of time just so my hair was constantly like super high fashion. And
Wow.
then muchly like yourself, Selena, for me, it was drugs and alcohol along with bad food, and extensive fasts that were not purposeful fasts.
Yeah.
We would call them fasts. They weren't fasts. They were just starvation. And
Right.
then, yeah, much like yourself, it was a cycle of shame and rage. And it was one or the other. And either the Eastern European blood in me would come out and I would throw someone through a wall, or
Yeah.
I would sit in the corner and sob and feel like I was obese, and it was terrible. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, and once you regulate your food and you start regulating your eating patterns, because I think we were talking about this yesterday, but when you regulate your system, your patterns, your everything regulates, right? So carnivore is one part of the whole. As Mark said, you feel like a therapist in these circumstances, but without the nutrition, without the sleep, without sobriety, without having people around you who are at least supportive, they may not be the same drive as you, but at least support your
Right.
drive and initiative. It's super hard to get out of those patterns, and it takes time to get out of that and be healthy.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And then
Absolutely.
I hijacked your call, friends. Here I
No,
am
You're
no.
with
It's
fine.
just,
sweaty shirt.
yeah, we
No,
love
you're
it.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Do you
Especially
Well,
think
because
do you think we've lost our identity as women?
yeah, I was
I
made to
think
yeah.
feel,
I think so as well, because like that's what I'm seeing now with young girls.
yeah.
They just like why do young girls need to have like the eyelashes, the big nails? They need to have the Botox. Like why
That
aren't people
is insane.
why aren't their parents not talking to these kids and saying, listen, there's nothing wrong with you?
So where I grew up in Southern California, so I grew up in Ventura, Oxnard area, which is about 45 minutes out of LA. And I have family that's in, lives in town, Beverly Hills, very, very visually oriented society. And I remember that there were girls that I knew that were like 14, 15 years old, and this is, my generation, not even up to girls now yet, but in my generation that were getting nose jobs,
Hmm.
getting boob jobs,
Mm.
and it was like, you're 15 years old. Have your hormones even told you whether or not you're getting boobs yet?
Mm.
And there's also the whole issue with all of the BS that forced all of us to go into puberty too early, like myself. But the whole psychology, just even back then, already started this
Yeah.
Mm.
concept of you have to stay this visual experience. If you're younger or older, you have to somewhere stay in between your, 19 to 22-year-old visual. And that's it. That's all you have. That's all that's allowed. And that psychologically, I think, induced a lot of nutritional deficiency because you start
Mm.
chasing these cycles, like you were
Mm.
saying, Jen, about starvation modes,
Mm.
fasting,
Mm.
these stupid, stupid cleanses where, like, I did
Ugh.
that lemonade and
Oh
maple
yeah, the
syrup and
lemonade,
cayenne
maple
pepper
syrup, and
one.
honey. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
I did that one. I was on that one for 60 days straight. 60 days. And yeah, I
Wow.
lost a shit ton of weight and I was running off some sugar.
Mm.
So I
The
guess, yeah,
original
I've done
sugar
it.
diet.
The original sugar diet. That's right. I was just now thinking about that. I'm like, oh shit, I have done that. And it's like, it's crazy because the moment you start actually eating food again, your body goes, oh, we got to store all this, guys. We're going to hold on to everything. And now you've gained back. And then your psychology with it is back in the dumpster because, oh my gosh, I'm too overweight now. I'm too this now or whatever. It's like that started at such a young age, such a
Yeah.
young age. And now girls now are getting Botox at like, 15, 16, 17
Yeah.
years old. And I'm like, if you're an adult, do what you do. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. That's personal choice. But at 15, 16, 17 years old,
Mm.
what are you
No.
Botoxing?
Mm.
What
Like,
I
Mm.
know 20, one of the girls that I coach is 22 and she has lip fillers, a nose job, like obviously the eyelash extension. She's got her
right.
eyebrows like microbladed and she gets Botox at 22. And she's like, but
Mm.
it's preventative. I'm like, but you don't even have wrinkles yet. What are you preventing? Like
Mm.
you can't look 22 forever. Come to terms with that right now. But I think a lot of this started, Selena and I are the same age, and like we come from the like America's Next Top Model generation where it's like if you're, and I remember specifically, and like being Eastern European, it's its own thing because like I'm a solid three in my home country. You know what I mean? Like the girls in Eastern Europe are just like outstanding. Lyra talks about this all the time. But I thought if I didn't grow to be like 5'11" and weigh like 80 pounds soaking wet and somehow turned out with like bleach blonde hair, like I was a failure societally. And I don't look like that. And also I'm a weirdo. And so like having a weird personality and then not looking how you think you're supposed to look, and everything on TV and everything in magazines is telling you you're supposed to look like that.
Mm. Mm.
it becomes a little bit dysfunctional, and then we end up trying super hard to compensate as we age, and then we end up raising this next generation of women that are even more dysfunctional because we are also hyper masculinizing women and we're hyper feminizing men. And so then we've got this problem going on, and these girls are so confused. Like, they don't know if they're supposed to be CEOs or housewives, and if they're
Mm,
allowed to be anything in between.
mm, mm,
And they're dysfunctional about how they look. Like, I saw this. Well, I live in a beautiful city. Like, everybody where I live is just, it's like where Selena lives. Like, I just live in a beautiful city. And I'm walking around last night on my on foot journey, and it's like lip injections, nose jobs. Like, I'm not gonna hate. I'm gonna bleach my hair next week. Nobody hate on me for that. But like,
mm,
it's everybody looks like a copycat
mm.
of everybody else. And I think
Exactly.
there's, like our generation dealt with body dysmorphia and eating
Mm,
disorders a lot. I think it was
mm.
like very prevalent in mine and Selena's generation. I think now people are dealing with whole body like dysmorphia. Like, it's not just like, oh, my breasts aren't large enough, or I don't have a
Yeah.
BBL. It's like face,
Um,
nails.
yeah, my missus was like that when I met her now 15 years ago. She was into all that. And I felt like from her that she had to impress me every single day. And I could see through that very, very quickly. And I said to her, like, listen, stop. Like this, I would rather you were without makeup on. I think you look amazing without makeup on. You don't need to go out and buy clothes all the time. I mean, I think that's what you need. Like, just small things, just to reassure them, say, listen, everything's okay. You don't need to prove yourself to anything to me. Like, you're with me and I'm with you. You saw me at my lowest and I saw you at your lowest. That's all that matters. Whereas now, if you're trying to be someone that you're not, unfortunately, you're going to be like that for the rest of your life unless you actually change your life, and you're going
Well,
to
and
end
I
up
think
meeting you're
like
going to you're going to end up meeting all the deadbeat people then.
we live in a swipe culture. It's like you said, it's a microwave culture, right? So if I'm a young girl right now and my worth is like, how pretty am I compared to my friends? And
Mm,
every guy is just like dating me for 5 minutes and then swiping and going on to the next girl, that's not going to
mm,
really reinforce the self worth. So it goes back to the like having a learning nutritionally and holistically how to love and care for yourself.
mm,
But I do think like the reason I hopped on, and I'll leave you guys to it, but having a partner who's aligned, and like I come from having a really lazy partner previous to my current relationship, and it drove me it exactly what Selena said. Like, it drove me nuts. I started fights. I looked for problems. I tried really hard for 2 years, including I financially destroyed myself supporting
mm,
somebody who was depressed, and it was not depression. It was a marijuana addiction and a food addiction.
mm,
Um, and I ran myself $30,000 in debt trying to help him out of that.
mm,
And I
mm,
kept escalating my career and escalating my education, and I watched him downturn, and finally rage left a 9-year relationship.
mm,
And it took me a really long time. See, Selena and I are cut from the same cloth. We're married for a reason, okay? Um, but like, yeah, now my current partner is the same as me, right? Like, we eat the same, we have the same drive. Like, he doesn't care when I put in 18-hour days in school, my business, my work, and everything else. Like, last night we went to go out and I put on like this small dress, and he's like, "Do you want to walk around downtown Montreal in a small dress? Like, do you feel like the creepy dudes are going to be cool with that?" And I was like, "I don't really care." And he's like, "Yeah, no, I know you don't care." But he's like, "We're going downtown Montreal, but there's going to be millions of people." He's like, "Do you want to get grabbed?" And I was like, "You know what? No, I probably don't." And then I
mm,
like put on like a t-shirt and shorts. And he's like, "Love you. You look great. Not telling you to change your
mm.
clothes. Just saying, I also know that you'll put somebody through a wall if they grab you, and I don't
Yeah.
want to have to fight a guy in the street." So
Mm,
that. But it's its own thing. And like, obviously I have a vibe as a look. Like, I'm a pretty heavily tattooed girl. It is what it is. I've got long nails and stuff. So I've got my own look going on. But I think like when you shift into your own, muchly like I think Selena and I both have, then you can start to come into a space where you can start to lead that younger generation saying like,
mm,
do you feel hyper feminized? That's okay. Do you feel like a girl who wants to dress like a tomboy? Like, Jenny, That's also okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, you don't have to look like a copycat of your friends, right? Like,
Mm,
you can look like you did for your wife, Mark. It's like, you know, if you want, if that's who you are, like for me, if being heavily tattooed is who I am, my boyfriend would love it if I had no tattoos. He loves bare skinned women. Will
mm,
he celebrate every tattoo I get? Yep, because he knows that I love them.
mm,
But it's about finding people who are in alignment with you. They don't have to want the same things as you, but they have to want to
mm.
support the things that you want.
Absolutely. 100%.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think if you're with a partner or you're around friends who aren't supporting their nutrition, they aren't supporting their health,
Mm,
you eventually aren't going to want to be around those people anymore,
mm, mm,
because you're going to, it's me and Mark now, you're going to like crash and burn, right? So
mm.
I think we see all these poor young folks, and it's like, it's just self-esteem issue mirroring on each other, all these
Mm.
young women and men. I mean, Mark, you can speak firsthand in the fitness world. For men, it's equally as bad there. I don't see any young men with love for themselves either. I see a lot of
No.
ego.
Mm.
I don't see
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of
it's
like
it's all to do it's
love.
all to do with it's all to do with look. That's all it is. It's just like
Hmm.
once I have the six pack, the women love the six pack. That's all it is. So that
Yeah.
it's not love. It's more lust than anything else.
Yeah, and what did you do to achieve that six pack, right? Did
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
did you actually support your health to do that, or
Mm.
are you on, you know, testosterone? Are you like, what are you doing? Because
Yeah.
like,
So it's basically it's a selfish kind of back. So you see all these young guys. They're taking the steroids. It has an effect on their testosterone.
mhm.
It has an effect on their libido. They lose all that
Oh, it's
just to,
gone.
just to look a certain way.
Yeah. I mean, my boyfriend's a personal trainer in a gym, and we were talking about it when we were walking last night, and he's like, you should see, like, I generally do home workouts now, or like, I'm a big calisthenics person. Um, but he's like, you should see what people show up in,
Mm,
including the trainers at my
mm,
gym. He's like, I would have been fired. He's been in this for 30 years. He's like, I would have been fired 20 years ago if I showed up with the train. He's like, a trainer showed up in a cutoff with like all the way to his waist, like with his like pecs and everything else hanging out to train 70-year-old women. And he's
mm,
like, why? Why would you wear
mm,
that to train these women? Like, these are
mm,
older women. You need to be respectful in how you
mm,
work with them. But he said it's like women are now basically wearing bikini tops to work out. He's like, or one pieces that are cut all the way to the butt and the back. Like, he's like, it's just a fashion show. You
mm,
can't physically do a proper workout in that gear. Like,
mm,
I am wearing a t-shirt that I've had for 15 years to train today, you know?
mm,
Like,
mm.
so, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of, I've known, and I mean, you can say the same for women. I think back, you and I speak a lot about fitness, back when women used to take thyroid hormone to get thin, right?
Mm,
And then they all developed thyroid cancer because they were
mm,
taking Synthroid and to hyper burn their metabolism, and then they all
mm.
developed throat cancer. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a thing. Selena can speak to that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so it's a terrible situation. I mean, I feel for young men and women now. I think there's so much lack of confidence and like a ton of ego, no true
Yeah.
confidence, right? Like,
Right.
Selena, you're in a
Yeah.
beautiful outdoor space now.
Yeah.
All the sunshine.
Yeah, my my water filtration system decided it needed to go through its cycle, and it sounded like a screaming banshee. So I was like, this does not work.
Nice. It's okay. It's
This
right
does
for
not work.
cleaning.
So I was like, hold on, guys, I need to move because all I could hear in the background was,
Nice,
it's like,
nice. Sick.
not good, not good.
I knew I could hear a noise in the background. I thought it was coming from here.
Yeah, no, that was my water filtration system. Like, oh, you're on a live? Let me kick
Now,
in right
now.
now, right now. It does a cycle like every 6 hours or something like that, depending on how much usage it's had. And I guess we kicked it in either. Um, my brain just hiccuped about everything. Yes. Hi. Do we have a question?
Okay. Oh,
Do we have something I can work off of? You guys were talking about egos, gyms,
Yeah, we
traps,
were just
biceps,
talking
and
about.
70-year-old women.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I think now it's like, I don't know if people have it better now than we had it when we were young. Like, I think
Yeah.
what's being imposed on people, I said, except I think we came from a generation where, like, we as women had more opportunity. Like, if I wanted to be a housewife, that was okay in our
Right,
generation.
right.
If I wanted to be a CEO, that was also okay in our generation.
Yeah.
But I will say now, as someone who has, like, I'm the powerhouse of the relationship, I'm the earner in the family. As we all know, personal training isn't like a 7-figure position.
Right.
And that's fine for us, but we do have like otherwise pretty traditional roles in our home. And like I'm Romanian. I was raised to cook and clean. I love cooking and cleaning for my family. It brings me immense joy. And I get so much judgment from people who are like, "Oh, Carlos makes you cook and clean." And I'm like, "Carlos doesn't make. Have you met a Romanian woman? Carlos
Oh,
doesn't make me
yeah.
do anything." But yeah, now it's like, "Oh, I can't care about how I look, eat well, like want to have a business and want to cook and clean for my family. Like I can't want all those
You can't
things."
do the whole thing. Yeah. What's
Hmm.
wrong with you, Jenny?
Yeah. So
The
now it's like I'm being forced into that. Where like people are like, "Oh, he forces you to clean," and I'm like, and they assume. I
yeah,
mean, it gets racial too, right? Because my partner's Hispanic, so people are
of
like, they
course.
assume it's like this machismo thing.
Yes,
Um, so there's that. But yeah, that's a weird thing I've noticed in today's society where it's
it
like,
is.
oh, you can be what you want until you are those things. And then it's like, oh, he's making you be that?
You can be what you want as long as it looks like the box we created for you.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. I
Thank you,
I'm
Ev.
I'm the cooker in the family. Absolutely. Like there is not a single meal in the house that happens if I am not the one cooking it. And there was a joke that my husband had made unconsciously one time when we were at a family event, and he was like, he had gotten me something for Christmas. I think it was my new KitchenAid or something. Like that's a big thing, right? And I was so excited. I was like head over heels, like this is the best thing. It's got the black crackle cast iron type paint. It's awesome. Yeah, if I could get a copper pot, I'd be happy. Either way, but and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the best Christmas present ever. And my mother-in-law was like, a kitchen item, and I was like, yeah, like I love it. And he goes, well, her place is in the kitchen. And she was just like, I cannot believe you just said that to your wife. And I'm laughing. I'm like, well, he's right. He's right. Like, that is my place. But
And it's,
because
you know
I
what,
claim it.
and you know what's actually amazing because my missus is the very, very same. If I clean the home, that's what gets her going. If I buy her like a kettle, like instead of a dress, that's what she mostly likes. Anything to
Right.
do with a house appliances, and it's like, holy shit, did I actually meet the right woman? You're just boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's funny because like you were saying, Jen, like we've sort of been stigmatized for things that are considered like traditional aspects of partnership. And I am all for equality in the sense, but in the
Of
same
course.
reality as well, like we're not equal. We are
No.
different.
We're meant to
Now,
complement each other.
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
period.
And that is a whole different subject of like understanding like yes, I can do anything a man can do. Sure. Is that the most optimal for me to live that way all the time 100%? No. No, it's not.
No, and I
And
tried and it was terrible. It was
same.
terrible.
Same. Absolutely the same. And I think that comes to the same concept of balance in relationship as well, because my husband, he's the cleaner. I'm not the cleaner. I was parentified my whole life. I am the second oldest to three brothers and two sisters, and the next one closest to me in age is 10 years younger than me. So I did most of the cleaning. I did almost all the cooking at the house for a long time. And, you know, I took care of those kids like they were my children. And now as an adult, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Sorry, I don't want to do that. If we're partners, because we both, you know, we both work, we share whatever responsibility. He prefers to clean. He absolutely despises cooking. I cook everything. He doesn't clean everything, but like whatever our my knows, which is usually the bathroom. But I'm also the only woman in my household, so you guys can do that one.
Yeah, you've earned that.
Like that's a place of partnership, of equality. It doesn't mean that you don't share equality in whatever choices and space that you guys give each other. And I think the concept, like you were saying, about masculinity and femininity within our species is getting so backwards that one of two concepts happen. Men either are way too egoed to where they don't allow themselves any experience in their femininity to be able to be sometimes gentle and kind and loving and, oh, it's okay for me to help you clean, or it's okay for whatever. Or it's like the exact opposite of the end of the spectrum where they're so feminized that you almost don't even know if they're
Interested in you.
yeah, it's a really weird thing in our society now, and I know that 100% has to do with what we've been fed, what's been put in our waters, what's been put in our prescriptions. Why are we on all these chemicals and touchy subject, all these vaccinations that are putting all this bullshit into our systems that affect our hormones at such a level that it's dysregulating our actual male and female experience as a society. Which I don't know that this was the intention of our discussion today, but here we
Well,
are,
No,
guys.
no,
but it does. It goes right back to carnivore. It goes right
yeah,
back to carnivore. Like,
and
So,
it's exactly what I had on the heading, because this is what I said on the heading. Can we not just focus on our health and see what we're doing first of all before we actually end the relationship or end the marriage? Because this is what I don't like seeing.
yeah,
Yes, there's going to be external stuff that gets in the way, but most of the time it's always down to what you're putting into your body. And I would love to see more relationships being saved this way.
same,
yeah.
absolutely the same. I know my husband and I, we did not have the same general perspective when we first got together, and he didn't understand my situation when we first got together. But he was willing to learn. He was willing to grow, to hear and understand like what I was going through. Because when I first met my husband, now I had already been diagnosed with cancer for a year, and we've been married since 2019. We've been together since 2018. So it's not like we've, been together like 20 years or anything like that. But it was 10 months before I started dating him that I had been diagnosed with my cancer diagnosis. So we met at a time that there was quite a shift in me, in where I was. And I remember one of the first things that he said to me when we went on our first, took a weekend together, and on our way back, and we were still kind of like, are we actually doing this? Is this which was only like a couple weeks into us starting to talk, by the way. So like, is this what's going on? Because he is almost 9 years younger than me. He'd never had children. I had a 9-year-old at the time. There was a lot to unwrap in this package of coming together. But his biggest concern out of absolutely everything was, he looked at me, he said, I don't care how big you are. I don't care how small you are. I just want you healthy.
Mm.
That sentence alone told me, okay, I have a partner. I don't have a bully. I have a
Absolutely.
partner. I don't have an
Yeah.
enabler.
Hmm.
I have a partner. And that that is something I don't think people are looking for intentionally. I think it's something that they want, but I don't think that they're actually taking the steps to look for that particular aspect of somebody that actually is going to be a partner. Because even if they're not in the same perspective of you at the moment, it doesn't mean that they're not willing to learn or grow with you.
Mm.
But they have to be willing to do that in order to grow. They have to be
Yeah.
willing to take a look at themselves in order to grow. And my husband will tell you every day, any chance you could, that him meeting me forced him to grow up, and not grow up like to become a man, but like to grow up in the ability to see beyond the boxes that have been set in place society wise, because we're already a strange dynamic anyways. Like,
Mm.
we're
Mm.
already not, we're not the standard. So it's taking that step that somebody is willing to grow and willing to look at themselves and willing to acknowledge the truth of their own decisions, because he has to make me, he doesn't make me, but he has to like shake me up from time to time just as much,
Mm.
of like, babe, is that really what you want? Is
Mm.
that really what you're needing to do? I mean, kind of
Mm.
like what, you were talking about the dress.
Yeah.
For me, it's, my brain wants to fall into old habits from time to time.
Sure.
And, that's when he looks at me and he's like, well, is this what you want?
I
No.
get that, Selena. I get that, Selena, because I'm like that with my partner. I'm like, okay, when do I pull back or when do I protect?
Hmm.
So I'll see an awful lot of people that'll only reach out to her every few months. So they'll say you coming out for a drink, and they're only doing that just to have a bit of company, but they wouldn't do that on a weekly basis. So
Right.
I'm there, and I'm like, okay, do I step in there and
Right.
try and protect her, or do I hold back? Most of the time, I always say, listen, like I don't want to turn around and be the arsehole and say, listen, don't go
Right.
out with these people. But it's like, how do I draw that line? How do I balance this out and say, well, listen, these people are not good for you. Like, I would
Right.
rather you be here with me. Let's just go for a walk. Let's have this will be actually better for you. I find that very, very sticky for me personally.
It is.
I
It
don't,
is a
I don't know,
sticky
It
I
is.
don't,
space.
I don't, I don't know how to address that situation without coming across as an arsehole. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it is touchy because, like, I don't know how your lovely is, but I know for myself, I am very much a two things for me. Don't tell me I can't do something, and don't tell
Mm,
me what to do. Those two
mm,
things, I am like, I'm a Taurus, so I am
mm.
very like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't go out tonight. Guess what? I'm going out every fucking night. Like,
Yeah.
like that's my
Yeah.
my my unconscious initial reaction. So I get it in that touchiness. And he has learned very much to just kind of, he poses the question to me as in, I'm not going to tell you what to do. And I just want to be in full support. And if this is what you want to go do,
Mm,
then, just know that that's what you're choosing instead of blah 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 blah.
mm,
And what goals are you trying to reach today, and depending on what it is, obviously. But he has grown to a place to ask me from the perspective of my goals and my desires and what I have set forth verbally as the expectation for myself versus his expectation of me. And
mm.
that's it's a tough line, because there's still times he'll do that and I'm just like,
I sulked for like 15 minutes after Carlos was like, "Do you not want to wear that?" I didn't want to wear the dress. He was totally right, but simply because he was like, "Are you sure? Like, people are going to physically grab you." And I was like, "Poor me. I'm mad. You're telling me what
Mm.
to wear." And he's like, "I would never tell you what to wear."
Yeah,
He's like, "I can't
yeah.
make you do anything." But it is. It's, you know what, Mark? It's like, I think it's touchy for anybody.
Yeah,
and
it is.
more so for men, I think. Like as women, we naturally nurture, right? So if I'm going, hey Mark, blah blah blah, I noticed this thing you do, and you're gonna be like, oh, that was kind of Jenny. She's notices things about me. Like men tend to be like, oh, she noticed something. That's so sweet. And women are like,
I wish Jenny, she would never do that for me. Never.
yeah, I do it too. And that's the thing. Carlos will be like, Jenny, you tell me what to do all the time. And I'm like,
Oh,
yeah, I'm the powerhouse. Don't tell me to change my dress. What's wrong with you? You can't control me. I'm going to put on a smaller dress now. But like, you know, that's not going to happen. It is going to be touchy. And I am not a Taurus. I'm a Pisces. So like, I should be gentle and kind. I somewhere that got wrong. But anyway. Um, I don't know. You're right, though. It is. It's always going to be touchy, but it is. I think like an important point of it is that, like, to the point of the title of this, in a throwaway society, people don't want to take the time to like understand that in long-term relationships, from anywhere from a year on, people are going to grow and change as human beings, and
Yeah,
especially when you meet in your 20s and your 30s, because you're like still kind of figuring yourself out at that point. But I
absolutely.
mean, people are going to grow and change. And so, oh, I know, Ev, I've dated many Aries. It's like people change. And so you need to have a partner who's willing to grow with you
Mm.
rather than just saying, like, well, you changed and just discarding the relationship and throwing it away. My mother and father in law have been married for 55 years. And they got married when she was 16 and he was 18, and I ask them about it all the time. I'm like, how do you make this marriage work? Like, nobody lasts 55 years anymore. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, like, I just put up with him. It's fine. But you see in the tiny things, right? You see in the tiny things, like, Carlos's dad still calls his mom Amor whenever he's talking to her. He's like, Amor, can you help me, blah, blah, blah. Amor, can you help me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they have their own things and it's sweet, and you realize that like if you're going to put things in, you have to work to be your best self. You can't pour from an empty cup. It's like the old, like, you got to
Exactly.
put the mask on yourself on the airplane first. So bring your best self to the table, but then be willing to have open, honest conversations. If I see Carlos start slipping, I'm not going to leave him, but I'm going to be like, what's going on? Like,
yeah,
why are you all of a
Exactly.
sudden
yeah.
eating a bag of chips when you're a personal trainer who eats straight up carnivore, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
that's what me and Selena spoke at the very, very beginning about the honest part. Like, when do
mhm.
you think it's a good idea? And I think it is. I think if your partner is slipping, I think it's okay. It's perfectly okay to say, listen, I'm not really worried about the weight. I'm more worried about your health. What Selena was speaking about.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know
you
what I
Exactly.
can't
mean?
lie to your partner.
Yeah. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, like if my partner put on a bit of weight, I'd be more concerned about her health than her
Yeah.
actual weight.
Or
That's what
what's
I think
going
it's more
on
about.
psychologically that caused, like, did you develop like hypothyroidism or
Mm,
something that is
Right.
causing that? Like for me, I
mm,
gained 45 pounds when my hypothyroidism got out of whack in 3 months, right? So it's like,
mm,
like, something is wrong with your health when you gain weight like that.
mm,
But so it's
Exactly.
like, I'm either concerned about your psychological health because are you trauma cycling or has something happened that you haven't felt comfortable coming forward with? Or what is happening with your physical health? Because if you dip in weight significantly, or you gain in weight, or your hair starts falling out, any type of like physical thing that starts happening, generally there's one of two things, often both. You're dysregulated emotionally,
mm,
psychologically, or you're
Right.
dysregulated metabolically,
Right.
mm.
often both.
Yeah. I was about to say,
Mm.
usually once the metabolic part happens, the psychological part follows very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course.
So
100%, 100%. Right, guys, will we wrap it up because I have a check in there shortly. But it was a
yeah.
pleasure coming on with you girls again.
Thanks for having me join.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Impromptu joining.
Absolutely.
No, oh, guys.
I love
It
it.
was definitely it was definitely a conversation that had to be needed, didn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. In my
Well,
house.
Any last minute thoughts you want to speak, girl, for let you go?
I think I'm good. I think
yeah.
I'm good.
Like
Yeah.
anybody listening, just like eat well and love yourself and bring your best self to the
Yes.
table, to
Amen.
all
Absolutely,
relationships.
Absolutely.
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 All right, ladies, I'll speak to you very, very soon. Thanks for
Have a
coming on.
great day, guys.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.